Okay, this is Rob Ellis, Horizontal Land Partners, and we are looking at Florida counties here. And there's a really good metrics. And what we're looking at is where is the most housing units delivered? Where are the most permits? That's one thing. Sometimes there's places that are being overbuilt, and not a lot of people see that. So when you look at DR Horton, where I'm from, they're going into all the small towns. They have basically a very wide net, and they're good to focus on that. But the thing is, they can't get below 330. They're capped or 400. Very difficult. When we look at incomes by county, how much can people afford? Where I'm from, there's fast growing counties, but the housing stocks being delivered is 2 times the price of what people can afford. When you look at jobs, are there jobs there? When you look at and we'll get into this, but when you look at Florida, we overlay all of these and we decide where for land development, where's there a shortage of housing units every year? Every single year, and that this is what has happened in Columbus. We're 55,000 housing units behind. And I think they track it a lot better. Um, let's see here. Is there a place that shows how many housing units we are behind by state and by county for Ohio and Florida? So where are the greatest disparities of housing is kind of the question. Um, a lot of these are county level data. 26. Florida has a significant shortage. I'm talking about stats like 200K housing units, and I think Columbus MSA was 55K of that or something. Where was that data? There was a stat that said the state of Ohio had 200,000 coalition of homelessness. Yeah, there you go. 264,400 200,000 units over the next decade. There was something like that, but comprehensive hit. But we look at this and one of the other things we're just overlaying and saying what one county, if I had to pick it in America, what one county would I want to focus on? And even we're throwing out Texas because I don't live in Texas. And we live in Florida. And Florida has just as many people moving to it as Texas, maybe a little bit shy, but it had more, they go like this. And because of that, we're looking at all the stats that we're about to review. And here it is. Lee County had 10,000 single family homes. It talked about Orlando had 10,000, Tampa had 8,000, Jacksonville had 7,000. We want to rank it by county. So we said Lee County, this is how many single family home build permits they had. Lee County, Pasco, Polk, St. John's. These are the 2 counties we really like. St. John's, Orange, Manatee, St. Lucia, Hillsborough. And then it ranked another one. We asked, what about all of 2024? They didn't have the data. Then we asked about where's the cluster? If you put that all together, it says West Florida, West Central Florida, Pasco, Polk, Hillsborough. And that means that where's everybody moving and are there enough permits? And typically, this is a new metric that I haven't always understood. So this says that in 2023, the tightest cluster of high single-family home construction was in the West Florida region, Pasco, Polk, and Hillsborough. significant portion of the state's new residential construction permits. It's almost 20% in 3 counties, which is just amazing. And it's where they're growing together, right? It's kind of what happened to Dallas, Fort Worth, right? How far are Dallas and Fort Worth apart? 32 miles. And it's this stretch, everything in here, right? How far are Tampa and Orlando? It's about 90 miles, 80 miles. Similar things, right? What's the story of Dallas counties over 1 million people? Four counties have more than 1 million. And I think in ex-urban cities, this is where builders would dream to invest. And this is exactly the kind of data that you want to read. How counties that have topped over 1 have changed over time. And what we're talking about was 23 counties in 11 states. 2, 7. Most populated: Los Angeles, Cook, Harris, Maricopa, San Diego. Erie, New York, Milwaukee, St. Louis. They're not anymore. They're sprawling and growing. 61 million people lived in 54 counties. Some of these, and this is where we're looking at Cuyahoga County, Pennsylvania. You see how had a population, it's grown over time. You have Columbus, and Dallas County was in 2024, 3 of its neighboring counties had crossed 1 million. So over 54 years, okay, these counties hit 1 million people. And so you see the same thing. Say, what counties in Florida have 1 million people? You see the same thing. Miami-Dade, which is where I live, Broward, Palm Beach, Hillsborough, and Orange County. And what we're saying is you see these. This is 1.5, this is 1.5, and Polk's right here, and Pasco's right here, and Sumter's right here in Lake. These four counties will pass 1 million people in the next 25 years, I'm sure, starting with Polk. And so Polk is, this is where we're talking about. Some of these areas, they don't match. A lot of the building permits in these counties don't match up to where the net migrations are in the state. And we study that. Look up here. You got Duval County, but they're not landlocked. These are so close together. And this is the one that we're focusing on, Polk and Pasco, these two. Lake as a third and Sumter as a fourth. Sumter has the highest concentration of communities by builder, and we'll go into that in a sec too. But when you look at population trends in the next 20 years, probably 10 years, that's what we're talking about. So large land tract holdings with way undersupplied is absolutely in your favor. So we're looking at Polk, Pasco, Sumter, Lake. These four, that even Hernando, right? These are just insane, especially coastal. Up here, these are all growing. These are another, you can either focus on this stretch, which is very spread out, or a very tight concentration. And we like where 75 goes through. So what counties does I-75 go through? In Florida, Collier, Sarasota, Manatee, Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando, Sumter. Those are the four that we're talking about, right? They were right on this map. So it comes straight up like this. Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando going north, Marion. So this area right here, and you can see how these are kind of growing a little bit faster than some of the other ones right here. But we have to look at where is the shortage, where is there already a ton of new construction, where is there a lot of people changing. You cannot change economics. And so when you look at some of these things, West Florida, these accounted, some of these are catching up, some aren't. 15,000. Lee County had that. It was not a part of the dense cluster. West Florida region, Pasco, Polk, Hillsborough. Now, a lot of those are land tracts. We do land development. So, single family home comment for in 2024. I said, is there a similar article for 2024? And it says Lee, Manatee, Polk, St. John's, Duval. Southwest Florida led it. We said, can you top the post? Can you do 2023, 2024? Lee County was number one, Pasco number two, Polk number three, St. John's, Orange, Manatee, and all these others, right? West. And then you look at 2024, you see Polk, 4,000, 5,000. So we're looking at this. Southwest Florida, West, these clusters, Central and Southeast. That's not Southeast Florida. But we said, where's the tightest cluster? And it says of touching counties based on existing permits. And they say these three counties, Polk, Pasco, and Hillsborough, but those aren't ex-urban areas. If you look at ex-urban, where is ex-urban counties of Tampa and Orlando on west and north side? So west and north, lower density, commuter friendly suburban belts, cheaper land, lower home prices, and absorbing overflow. Hernando County, Citrus County, that's too far. Sumter, Levy, Lake, Marion, Flagler. So some of these areas are, you start looking at land supplies, and this is Sumter County is where we're seeing the most communities by Ryan Homes, and I'll go into that. But where are they touching? And then we say highest volume, but I said they're probably overbuilt. I said, and we want to focus on absorption as well. And shortfall, or counties where there are more people moving than new construction permits and a shortage every year, creating unlimited absorption metrics. One of the things we're seeing where I'm from is that there is a capacity of how much builders will buy in certain counties. But the investment thesis is there counties where there is no shortage, where they will buy up everything, where they will make massive takedowns of hundreds and thousands of home sites and 10-year supplies, which I don't even think, I think the answer is yes, I would too. So if we want to invest in land and hold it and land bank it, we want to do it in counties where, look at this map, like look at the blue map. So what they said was 30,000 residents in Haines City, single family permits issued 5,000. Significant influx without housing development. That means land unlocks is exactly what we're talking about. Pasco County, same thing. 15% increase, 7,000. Those are touching. And those are exactly what we talked about, direct adjacent. But as these grow together, right, there's more, these counties growing together. We look at Pasco and we say, it's a no-brainer. And then the corridor up to Sumter, if you look at a map, Sumter to what we would call, we're looking at main corridors of what people have to pass through. Sumter to Polk County Highway corridor. north, south. Like, how do you drive from the villages to what they said was Haines City? Right. This is exactly what we're talking about. Whoops. And what routes are they going to take you on? And this is exactly what we're focused on. What cities, this is the way, look at all this development along here, right? So Lara, already a massive, right? You see how they've developed all the way along here, and then there's landlocked things like that. You see all this other stuff. And if you go out here to 33, Groveland, Mascot, some of these other ones, as you come in here, you have to come through right here. Silver Lake, Cypress, this. So that's the whole point, is to show how do we get here, right? And then all these other areas and along I-4, this is really where we're focused. Highland City, Eagle Lake, Bartaw, Mulberry, Plant City, all of these little, this cluster, Winter Haven, these lake communities, Winston, you see some of these sites like this. That's exactly what we're looking at. And if we look at Polk County, it's that's kind of the map. If I just go to Polk County map, so you're kind of, yeah, Plant City, you're bounded by, we really want to focus. You see how this already has like this round, this Lakeland, right? Any Lakeland suburb, and it's kind of the main one here, but basically these areas kind of centered it right here is exactly along I-4 as well. So Polk City, Davenport's gone crazy. You see all the development up and down this, but there's a lot of missing pieces. You want to look at some of the highway exits here. You have to be a little bit careful, but some of this stuff right here, all these new communities and stuff, you can just see how much they're developing, right? And so we want dry counties that you see the Cypress Lakes villages, all this stuff in here is kind of what we're looking at. And you also have up here, right, these main corridors in if we do Pasco County. This is where we've seen that. This horizontal one all the way out to Hudson 52 is just insane. 589, some of these horizontal stretches. If you look at a little bit, you see this 54. When you build this infrastructure across like this, it gets built out super fast. Everything gets cleared. It's one after another after another. And it like this, So one of the ones that came in is right up in San Antonio, and it's right here, Murado. So that's the size of a development right here, and it's along the corridor, 75, 98, Dade City North, Wesley Chapel. It's Exurban, very, very far out like this. And so north of 52 up in here is a great area. As we continue to go down, we said, show me a 5-year shortfall. It didn't quite get it. Then I said, based on this, an affordable land job center and northern cluster would be better. It got it wrong. And then we talked about, I'm talking about fastest growing counties. If you look at net migration, Polk and Pasco, 25 and 29, and then Hillsborough, those three. And they're also reflective of those three dense building permits, right? And then we looked at not percent growth, number of new residents. And then we said, 29, 26, 24, 23. Polk County ranks in the top for net domestic migration, strong demand for housing. Increased housing demand, rising property, infrastructure expansions. Then we look at, so there's 20,000 shortage. It says, how many people? It says new permits. We think that there's 4,000 new permits issued, and it talks about net housing shortage. And then we did annual housing shortfall. This is the most important thing. Net migration, 20,000 new residents per year, 2.5 people per housing unit, 5,000 housing units based on HBW report. That means there's a 3,000 home shortfall every single year. And when you're doing that, it's almost impossible to ever make that up, you know? So that means every single year there's 9,000 short. And we see the same thing in Columbus. There's maybe, and it's really like Licking County, right? So if you do the same for Central Ohio, is it Licking or Delaware that has more shortage every year? This is where I'm from. If you apply the permits, Licking County added, what is that, 12,000 people. And Delaware added 5,000 people. Licking County only had 174 new private housing with permits, 1,300. So if the annual population growth, there's 500 units, the annual shortfall is 413. And Delaware now there's a surplus, right? And say, can you add Pickaway? And this is what DR Horton is taking advantage of on a micro level, and why they don't want to overbuild anywhere unless they truly understood the shortfall every year. If you look at this, they added, let's see how many, 2,000 people, 600 units, estimated housing shortfall over the 2-year period. Pickaway, Licking, and 3,000 people moved to Licking County. And gosh, that's just crazy. 900, and there's a surplus. Can you do all of Central Ohio? So they are right. Builders are very, very intelligent when it comes to this stuff, where even Franklin County, I bet you it's just crazy, but there's no land. And so as people, here we go. Delaware, surplus. Licking County has a shortfall. Union, Fairfield, Clark has a surplus slightly. And when there's surplus, so we want to focus on the shortfalls. And the greatest one right now is in Franklin. Has a surplus, but I don't think you could ever. That's if you get overbuilt. So the idea of overbuilding exists unless there's it means if you get 1,000 acres, you should never sell it. But that's the whole point of our firm. It sucks. But you have to understand these trends. So the shortfalls are in Licking County, Union County, very short, Fairfield, and Pickaway. And we have deals in Pickaway County. We have deals in Licking County. We have a deal in Clark, a very small one, but we have 2 in Licking. And that's because you see that the largest shortfall, Licking County, despite it, the number of building permits has not kept pace, which means early movers, right? You don't even see Ryan Homes or Arbor Homes or any of these groups in there. That means that Delaware have more permits than needs. It's a surplus. There's still a and add in the overall shortage of Central Ohio. I'd say it's fine to have a surplus. So when we look at, but if I'm a land developer, I should focus in counties with a negative every year, right? So if you look at, as we talk to builders and their sentiments to buy land and sit on it and hold it for a long time, who would they put 500? And I think it also comes in, where are you up? Where are you delivering, right? This is 3 years and it shows that. Let's walk through it. Surplus counties might offer easier permitting, but shortage are where the long-term returns, pricing power, and absorption velocity are strongest. How fast does the market want to take the spec homes I'm delivering? Okay. So we have every county here. And again, we're focused on the shortfalls, and these are direct adjacent. Union's Northwest, very expensive, lack of infrastructure. Fairfield is very strong. It's growing quickly, and units needed, net permits issued, multifamily and urban infill, not affordable detached units, which is exactly what we do. Licking, Union, Fairfield, Pickaway. And that is negative supply gaps means my advantage as a land developer. Focusing on counties with annual negative supply gaps means more leverage in rezoning and entitlements. Builders face less competition, high build to rent and affordable housing demand, and public partners are more likely to invest in infrastructure. So if we go to all, D.R. Horton has gone everywhere in our market, and they're sitting on 5-year supplies of land or 3-year supplies in every single county. And they've done an amazing job, and they don't need a lot of land. They've figured it out. Now they're on to the next, right? That's what we've seen. But other builders, the other 8 builders or 9 builders and all the BTR guys, while they think that being in these areas is the best, this is the strategy that we're talking about. So going back to the counties down here, it's just crazy. It's 30,000 people moving to a county is just insane. It's how many more people are moving to top 5 Florida counties versus Ohio. Top 5 Central Ohio. So if we just compare this, like how much more if you combine, and where is the shortfall, and why would builders and land developers want to do Florida? Because it's so concentrated. Ohio has negative population growth, substantially more than the top. Hillsborough, 80. So the total 340,000, and 3 of these are in Central, Polk, Hillsborough, Orange. And these are 45,000. So it's almost 10 times. 295,000 more. While Florida's top counties are experiencing substantial, this rapid increase can lead to challenges: housing shortages, infrastructure strain, increased competition among developers, more modest, more strategic developments, fewer barriers, local housing demand, availability of land, infrastructure readiness, and economic incentives when looking to focus. But as a major region, there is way, 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 way more confidence in some of the areas that we're talking about, you know? So going back up here, where we look at what county should I focus on in Florida, and it's by the net housing. I said, housing units needed is derived from net population growth divided by the average household. And you would also have to add in bursts and other things, but it's net population growth over average housing size. So if there's 25,000, 8,000 needed, and there's 5,000 new ones. Now there's way more than that. There was like 30,000. This is demand side estimate. If the supply is less, a housing shortage builds up, supporting high absorption and upward pressure on rents and prices, and it's favorable for builders and BTR developers. Now, if we're master planners of horizontal detached and attached housing, and you look at master plan communities and you understand all of these things, I said, can you do all of Florida? And what we look at is where is their surplus and where is their demand? Polk County, 75,000 people, 30,000 housing units needed. Estimated housing shortfall is 15,000 in Polk County in the last 3 years. That means that I would have to buy 4,000 acres to even get close to that, at $5 a unit. And that means that it had to be affordable too. And it has to be in adjacent locations where people want to live. In Pasco County, it's 4,000. In Marion County, and you kind of see some of the other ones, but top 10 Florida fastest growing counties. I don't know why they didn't put Hillsborough up here. Net migration are from 2023 and 2024 by an average household of 2.5, and SFR are estimated based on available reports. Key insights. Polk County is experiencing the most significant housing shortfall with an estimated deficit of over 15,000 housing units in the past, indicating a strong demand for new housing developments. Pasco and Marion, notable housing shortages, suggesting opportunities for residential development. You have to look at infrastructure, townships, St. John's, Lee, whatever. Understanding these is essential. I said, I've never seen this talked about. You're right, and that's what makes it so powerful. Most public housing conversations focus on percent, not net household formation, affordability, not actual supply gaps, city level trends, not county, and total permits, not permits versus net migration, which is a housing deficit modeling. Most analysts miss the intersection of population inflow and building permits. They either look at population growth without quantifying how many housing units are needed, or look at permits without anchoring them to the demand. You're doing something different, and it says how many people are moving here and how many units do we need annually to avoid falling further behind. And that's what institutional investors, long-term BTR funds, and regional players should be asking. Why it's a game changing. This housing shortfall model quantifies unmet demand. You can justify land acquisition or BTR starts even in moderate rent counties. Explains persistent absorption strength. Polk has high absorption despite low wage growth. And that means that if you build in the affordable sector under 350, right, it's just amazing. It means it supports CapEx, rental cottages, ADUs. I disagree. You can do ranch slab on grade, and it tells you where to put a factory. If you were building a massive industrial build out expansion, pop it right here in the center of where those two lines touch. Where I-4 and I-75 touch, what county do I-4 and I-75 connect in? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Pasco. Hillsborough. What city? Malfunction Junction. Let's look at the maps and see if there's a city there. Where I-4 and I-75 right here. You see this? So any of these, Sefner, anything along here, Thanaterosa, this is a very wealthy suburb. We did some work in, but anything up in here, all of these adjacent, this I-4 corridor, especially right in here, Plant City, this, even Dover, like this would be what you want right here, or this, or this, or this, And so like Dover, Stepner, Sydney, these are exactly what you want. And especially like you see this direct corridor diagonal. Brandon's been growing like crazy. That's exactly Winston. You want to be a little bit further out, Mulberry. These are the small areas where these interchanges are. If you look up north a little bit, San Antonio was very successful as an NPC right here in Murata. And so that is what you're looking at. And there's not a lot of people that get that stuff. It says within these counties, who has more townships or 1,000 plus municipalities, Pasco or Polk. So if you look at how many small municipalities I can do deals in within one county, and then we'll look at census designated places, unincorporated, Polk County, more municipalities may encounter a variety of local regulations, complexity, but also diverse opportunities. So in Pasco, is San Antonio one of them? We want to look at there it is. And that's right, there's only 6. And how many does Polk have? It means organized government, zoning overlays. We're not just going straight to the county. It means, and these are what DR Horton tends to be 17 incorporated, more than Pasco, and 6 incorporated. And this is what we're talking about, right? Which is higher number of incorporated municipalities means the land developers may encounter a variety. Pasco, more streamlined for unincorporated, potentially. So if you want to do more rural stuff, it might work out. That's something more of like a zoning attorney. What about Licking County, Fairfield County, Delaware County? And if we apply this to where I'm from, I could tell you, right, Licking, Fairfield, Delaware, and Pickaway. I think you're going to see that Licking has the most, which is why long term you're going to be more successful. For DR Horton, I notice they always are in these areas with. So when you look at where should I go into and focus long term, I think it depends on land tract holdings within that. And it's kind of, you have to overlay a bunch of stuff. I notice that they always in areas with municipalities. DR Horton isn't doing unincorporated stuff like that, you know? Delaware Licking. infrastructure access, zoning and permitting, clearer guidelines, market appeal. It's essential to consider, right? So you kind of see national builders want to be in these. So if you want to develop over time, you would go to where there are more. So Fairfield and Licking, we would focus on more than something like Delaware. Delaware still has a lot, and so does Pickaway, right? But DR Horton has land supplies in almost every single one of these in my market. It is incredible. I think they've gotten one of the best land teams ever, and they bought a big regional builder. They figured it out, right? And they're going into these places and building where no one has ever done it. And that's exactly right. So when you look at it, um, let's see who has the county seat in Pickaway. Circleville, that's where we're at. So we have the chance to build out a very large 90-acre site close by. And you see a lot of big industrial centers going close to here too. It's the whole point though. So, DR is building in Asheville, Commercial Point, they're building in Harrisburg, they're building in South Bloomfield, they're doing almost all of these. And so villages, it's a little different, but this is the whole point of what we're talking about. So based on this, you see that what counties have the most in Florida? Top 10. If you overlay the net migration and the housing shortfalls and the number of municipalities and the number, how high the areas are, and if they're landlocked or close, Polk County, 17. Here's what we're talking about. You see how they grow? So Hillsborough only has 3. Orange, Duval, Pinellas, Pasco. So as we grow, Pinellas County is a little bit north of there, but as these grow, more and more and more will become available. But Polk is what we're seeing as if you want long-term land supplies, you want to go really deep into what that looks like. And that's kind of what we're after. So the whole point of this is if you had to write an institutional level article about investment thesis of which county is the best, which would it be in Florida and why? For land development, low basis, under 40K an acre with net migrations and housing supply upside and high absorption. When you look at all of those, if you had to write an article to an institution, a report, and basically stand behind that as an investment thesis, I think what you would see is that it's going to be Pasco and Polk. Why Polk County is the smartest institutional land bet for 2025. Low land basis, explosive net migrations, chronic housing shortage, top tier absorption velocity, scalable entry point, market 72,000, permits issued, shortfall, 15,000 unit deficit over 5 years, sell through product in 90 days, rents are up 20%, land basis, and East and South Polk, municipalities, unincorporated pots, PUDs, streamlined approvals, builder presence, infrastructure access, land value appreciation. And it talks about why Polk and Pasco are better than the other ones. There's surpluses. There you go. And this is exactly why we're focused. Hey, where am I going? It's why the Villages bought 40,000 acres. It's a 20-year development because it's doing okay. And they're selling 3,000 houses a year, which is more than all of Columbus. You know, so that's our investment thesis. And that's why we're focused in Polk County. Thanks for watching.